March 14th, 1994. The day the sky over Briar Hills Elementary looked too perfect to be real, the sun hung high, soft gold, spilling across the schoolyard like it had something to prove. It was one of those first warm days that made kids forget it was still technically winter. And by lunchtime, jackets were forgotten on fences, shirts untucked, knees scraped. From her seat by the window, Anna McCall pressed her cheek to the cool glass, watching the other third graders run wild across the blacktop. Kickball, hopscotch, two boys throwing pine cones at each other, a girl doing cartwheels under a noonday sun. But Miguel Vargas wasn't outside. He was still at his desk, in the back row of room 3B, where the lights always flickered and the heating made weird clunking noises. Anna saw him when she turned to grab her backpack. While 20 kids bolted out the door for recess, he stayed behind. He was hunched over something in his lap, shoulders curled like he was hiding a secret. His yo-yo silver, old-looking, the kind with a mirrored face, danced along the length of the string in sharp, flawless arcs. Click, whoosh, snap, up again. She'd always liked watching him play. He was so precise, like a magician pulling invisible threads. She had asked him once where he got it. He said it was from his grandfather, who got it from somewhere else, and left it at that. She didn't know much about Miguel, only that he'd moved to town in the fall and kept mostly to himself. No one bullied him. He didn't give off the kind of energy that invited it, but no one really knew him either. He had a quiet, curious look about him, the kind that made teachers pause before speaking, like he already knew what they were going to say. By the time the bell rang, room 3B was half empty. Mrs. Delaney waved them out with a smile, her floral scarf catching in the breeze. Anna was the last girl to leave. She glanced back one more time, and there he was, Miguel, still at his desk, yo-yo, spinning like a hypnotist's watch. He looked up just as she turned. Their eyes met for half a second, and in that moment, something strange flickered across his face. Not fear, not sadness. Something else. Resignation. Then she blinked, and he looked away. Outside, the world felt loud and too bright. Anna climbed onto the monkey bars, half listening to her friend Caitlin go on about some sleepover she wasn't invited to. Something about that look on Miguel's face wouldn't leave her alone. She kept glancing toward the school. 15 minutes later, Mrs. Delaney's voice cracked over the playground. Has anyone seen Miguel? It wasn't a scream. Not exactly. But it cut through the air like a wrong note in a familiar song. Kids froze mid-game. Someone laughed awkwardly. Then the teacher started moving fast. Anna's stomach dropped. Back inside, room 3B was exactly as they'd left it, except for Miguel's chair, now pushed neatly under his desk. His backpack was zipped. His yo-yo was gone. The janitor checked the bathrooms. The nurse checked the office. The principal made an announcement over the PA. No one had seen him. No one knew where he went. Not one person remembered him coming outside. They locked down the school within the hour. By the end of the day, police had cordoned off the building, walking in tight grids across the playground and between the trees behind the school. They asked everyone the same questions. What was he wearing? Who was the last to see him? Did he say anything unusual? Anna told them the truth. She saw him after the bell. He was playing with his yo-yo. He looked up. That was all. The officer's pen stopped moving. Are you sure he looked at you? She nodded. Yes. And then what? He looked away. The officer exchanged a glance with Mrs. Delaney, then crouched lower. Anna, did Miguel ever talk to you? Say anything strange? No, she said, but it wasn't the truth. She remembered what he whispered to her once in the hallway, just 2 weeks earlier, when he had leaned in without warning and said, "There's a door under the school." She hadn't asked what he meant. She'd just run away. That night, her parents were quieter than usual. Dinner was cold by the time they sat down, and no one said a word until the news came on. Search continues for 8-year-old Miguel Vargas, last seen inside his classroom after lunch. No sign of forced entry. Police say no one left campus. Anna's mother muted the TV. Her father looked at her, face stony. You didn't see anything. But I did. You didn't, he repeated. And you don't talk about it anymore. Her mother placed a hand on Anna's shoulder, soft but heavy. Sweetheart, she whispered, there are things we don't bring back up, things that slip between the cracks. Anna didn't know what that meant, but she remembered that phrase forever. At school, things got weird. Fast. Miguel's desk was removed the next morning. Teachers avoided his name. His photo was taken down from the class project board. It was like the school was erasing him like he'd never existed. A week later, the yearbook committee retook the class photo. Anna stood in the back row, arms folded behind her, eyes half shut in the sun. As they counted down to the shutter click, a gust of wind blew through the yard. Cold and sudden, a voice drifted past her ear. You saw. She whipped her head around. No one was there. In the days after Miguel vanished, silence settled over Briar Hills like fog, thick, clinging, and impossible to push through. The teachers said nothing. The kids whispered everything. He ran away. No, he got kidnapped. My cousin says the janitor used to be in jail. Anna heard every version, but no one came close to the truth because no one else saw what she did. Miguel looked back, like he knew it was the end. That detail haunted her. It wasn't just that he was gone, it was how he seemed to expect it. At home, things were worse. Her parents didn't ask questions, didn't offer explanations. They moved through the house like actors reading from a script, overly calm, overly cheerful. But Anna could feel the tension humming behind their words, buzzing like an electric fence. That night, after school reopened, her mother tucked her in without saying much. just smoothed her hair, kissed her cheek, and turned out the light. Anna waited a full minute in the dark before whispering, "I saw him." There was a pause at the door. Her mother didn't turn back around. "Don't say that," she said quietly. "But I..." "No." The hallway light snapped off. At school, Miguel's name was officially banned. No announcements, no memorial, no empty chair. Just a quiet reshuffling of desks and a new seating chart like he had never existed. When Anna asked Mrs. Delaney why they weren't doing anything, the teacher smiled too quickly and said, "Some things are better left behind." Sweetheart, the smile didn't reach her eyes. Anna noticed other things too. The door to room 3B now stuck every morning, as if something were pressing against it from the inside. Her friend Caitlin started getting nosebleeds. The clocks in their hallway would sometimes skip a full minute at once. And once, just once, Anna swore she heard the sound of a yo-yo clicking in the vents above her during a math test. When she mentioned it, the substitute teacher just frowned and said, "We don't have vents in here." One afternoon, 2 weeks after the disappearance, Anna found herself walking behind the school. She didn't remember choosing to. Her feet just carried her there, like something was pulling her forward. The back lot was fenced off, overgrown, full of forgotten playground equipment. She pushed past a low gate and made her way toward the hill behind the gym, where the maintenance sheds slumped like abandoned shacks. That's when she saw the door. Half covered in ivy, low to the ground, metal frame, rusted to almost nothing. It was set into the base of the hill, like it wasn't supposed to be found, like someone had buried it on purpose. Miguel's words came back to her like a punch to the chest. "There's a door under the school." She stepped closer, reached for the handle. And the shout made her jump. It was Principal Halverson, striding across the blacktop with a frown that looked carved into his face. "You're not supposed to be back here," he said. Not angry, just firm. Calm in that way that adults used when they didn't want you to know they were scared. Anna nodded. "Sorry." He stared past her at the hill, eyes narrowing at something she couldn't see. "You stay away from this area," he said. "There are old things here, unsafe." Then, almost to himself, he muttered, "We should have sealed it better." That night, she broke. She sat at the kitchen table, fists clenched on top of her notebook, and stared her parents down. "I need to know what happened to Miguel." Her mother froze mid-stir at the stove. Her father put down the newspaper. "The patente font." "Anna," he said slowly, "you don't." "I do," she said, louder than she meant to. "I saw him. He didn't leave. He was there 1 second and gone the next. No one else even cares." "They care," her mother said gently, "but they're scared." Anna's heart thudded. Of what? Her father didn't answer. He walked over to the drawer by the fridge and pulled out a manila folder. Yellowed edges, no label. He placed it on the table and slid it toward her. "Don't open it yet," he said. "Just listen." He looked tired in a way she'd never seen before. When I was your age, he began, there was a girl named Rebecca. She sat 2 rows over in my class. Quiet, like Miguel, smart. One day after recess, she didn't come back. Her mother sat down beside them, hands folded tight. No one talked about her. He continued, we were told she transferred. But I remember, she looked at me before she left. Just like you said, Miguel did. Anna's skin crawled. What is this place? She whispered. Her mother leaned in. There are holes in the world, she said. Places where something seeps through. This school was built on one. They keep it quiet, her father added. Pretend it's just bad luck. But every few decades, something happens. Anna opened the folder. Newspaper clippings, missing child reports, 4 dates, all spaced out. All the same story. One child disappeared after recess. No trace. No suspects. The 4th clipping had no name. No photo. Just a date, 2025. A space left blank. Anna couldn't sleep. Even after her parents turned out the lights. After the baby monitor in the corner started hissing its soft white noise, she just lay there, sheets bunched around her, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Her thoughts spun like Miguel's yo-yo, up and down, over and over again, never resting. A hole under the school. 4 missing kids. 1 blank date. This year, her stomach turned. As she sat up and turned on her tablet, maybe part of her was hoping to distract herself. Fall into something normal? A game? A recipe video? Anything? Instead, she opened Facebook. Her hands moved without thinking. Search Miguel Vargas. She'd searched before, right after it happened. Again in high school, again in college. Just to see, the results had always been the same. Nothing. No hits, no family listings. No digital footprints at all. But this time, something had changed. There he was. Miguel Vargas. Profile created 3 weeks ago. She stared at the screen, not breathing. The profile photo was the same one she'd seen earlier, their 3rd grade class picture. Only now, she notices something strange. Miguel had been added to the photo digitally. Not just inserted blended, but poorly. His edges were too sharp. The shadows on his face didn't match the sunlight in the shot. And he was standing in a spot where no one had stood before. Like a placeholder, like a ghost. Anna's finger hovered over the name. One friend. Curious, she clicked the friend list. There was only one name. Rebecca Lang. The girl her dad had told her about. The one who vanished after recess, back in 1985. Anna felt a cold pull at the base of her neck. She went back to Miguel's profile, clicked on the photo, zoomed in. Behind the kids in the class picture was the jungle gym, the one they tore down in 2006. She could almost smell the mulch and metal, feel the spring air again. Then something flickered on the screen. Just for a second, Miguel's eyes shifted. Not his head, just his eyes. A slight glance toward her. She dropped the tablet. It clattered to the floor. The screen dimmed, then locked. She stared at it like it might lurch back to life. Then the baby monitor crackled. Anna turned slowly, blood pounding in her ears. On the screen, her daughter's room glowed faintly under the nightlight. Her daughter, June, was still asleep, peaceful, mouth open, arms curled around a stuffed giraffe. Then, from the left side of the screen, a shape moved. Fast, just a blur, low to the floor. Anna scrambled for the monitor's controls, turned the volume up. Nothing. No breathing. No footsteps. Just static. Then a sound. Click. Snap. Click. Yo-yo sounds. She was halfway down the hall before she realized she'd grabbed the bat from her closet. She burst into her daughter's room. Bram. Nothing. June stirred, yawned, and rolled over. The room was still, the air cold. Anna crossed to the closet, yanked it open. Empty. She dropped to her knees and checked under the crib. Nothing. Except in the corner, almost hidden behind the dresser, something shiny caught her eye. She reached out. A single yo-yo string snapped in half. Silver thread, like fishing line. She staggered back. Her phone buzzed. Anna snatched it up, heart thundering. Notification: Miguel Vargas sent you a message. She opened it. Miguel didn't mean for it to come after her. It's getting stronger, faster. I need help. She stared at the screen, fingers trembling. Anna, what is it? 3 dots appeared. Typing stopped. Started again. Miguel, it feeds on memory. Every 30 years, one child. Then the rest forget. But something's wrong. The seal is broken. It's not waiting anymore. Another pause. Miguel, it wants more. Anna's hands went cold. The seal, the door, the crack in the floor Miguel talked about. She looked over at June, still sleeping soundly. Then back at the screen. Anna, why me? Miguel replied instantly. Miguel, because you remembered, and because you looked back. Anna didn't sleep the rest of the night. She sat in the living room, blanket around her shoulders, phone in hand. She scrolled through Miguel's photos again and again. There were none. Just the single altered class picture. Rebecca Lang's profile had even less. No posts, no activity. Just a location tag. Last seen, Briar Hills. MA. Anna clicked on the tag. It opened a map. But the pin wasn't on the school. It was under it. A sub-basement. Somewhere beneath the structure, something was still moving. Miguel's messages buzzed again. Miguel, you have to go back to where I fell through. Room 3B. Anna stared at the words until her vision blurred. By morning, she had made a decision. She dressed June, fed her breakfast, and dropped her at her sister's house across town, told her she had a doctor's appointment, lied through her teeth, and smiled too much. Then she drove to the school. It was Saturday, empty, locked tight, but she still had her old ID badge from the 2 months she'd briefly taught there last year. It buzzed green at the side door. Inside, the air smelled the same as it had in 1994. Old books, dry carpet, dust. She made her way to room 3B. The door stuck, just like it used to. She shoved hard. It opened with a groan. The room was dim. The blinds were half open, casting stripes of light across the old floor. And there, in the back corner, under Miguel's old desk, a small crack in the linoleum, jagged, hairline thin but deep. She knelt beside it. The edges pulsed faintly. She reached into her bag, pulled out the broken yo-yo string she'd found in June's room, and gently lowered it into the crack. It vanished. No tug, no resistance, just gone. Then the floor beneath her vibrated once, and a sound rose up from below. Not a growl, not a scream, something worse. Laughter. Anna ran, not away from the sound, but toward it, because that laughter rising from the crack in the floor wasn't the kind you could ignore. It wasn't human. It was old, layered, like the echo of something that had learned how to pretend it had a voice. She didn't know why she wasn't screaming. Maybe the part of her that should have been terrified had burned out somewhere between Miguel's friend request and the snap of yo-yo string beside her daughter's crib. All she knew was that Miguel had said, "Go back." And this was it. She shoved the desk aside with her hip and dropped to the floor. The crack was wider now. She hadn't noticed at first, but it had grown maybe even in the last 5 minutes. The linoleum around it had curled slightly upward, as if the ground was breathing. She reached for her phone, texted him, "Anna, I'm in room 3B. There's a crack in the floor. It's open." 3 dots. "Yeah, don't go in yet. It's watching." She looked around the room. Empty. Silent. But she could feel it now. The pressure in the air. Like standing too close to a speaker with the volume cranked all the way up, no sound. But a constant push on the bones in your skull. Her phone buzzed again. "Miguel, there's a door under the gym. You'll see it if you go alone. That's where I'll meet you." 20 minutes later, Anna stood in front of the gym's back exit. The path leading there was half eaten by weeds. A no trespassing sign swung crookedly on the gate. Beyond it, the old maintenance hill sloped gently upward, just like in her memory. She remembered the door, half buried, rusted shut, but now it was wide open. No sign of a lock, no vines, just black beyond black, as if light refused to go in. Miguel was right. You couldn't see it until you were ready. She slipped inside. The tunnel sloped down at a shallow angle. Damp air clung to her skin, thick and metallic. It smelled like pennies and old stone. She held her flashlight tight. Her phone had no signal now. No GPS. Just the growing hum in the air. A thrum of static in her ears. The tunnel was unfinished walls of stone, ceiling low. It bent slightly to the left then dropped into a wide, square room. She stepped inside and froze. It was a replica. Room 3B, down to the desk placements, the whiteboard, the old corkboard that had once held their art projects. But this version was rotting. The desks were covered in moss. Mold bloomed in corners. The walls dripped with condensation. And standing in the center, Miguel, just as she remembered him, 8 years old. Hoodie too big. Yo-yo hanging from one hand like a pendulum. He turned toward her. "Hi, Anna." It was his voice. His real voice. The one from recess and reading time and lunch lines. But there was something worn about it now. Like he'd been talking through too many years without getting older. "You really came," he said, smiling softly. She wanted to rush him, hug him, demand answers, but she just stood there, throat tight. "You're still 8, she finally said. "I have to be," he replied. "That's the price." She stepped closer. "What is this place?" Miguel looked around the rotting classroom. "It's the in-between," he said. "The part of the world that got forgotten. Or maybe the part it forgot on purpose." She moved beside him. The floor squelched underfoot. "And the crack in the classroom, it's a seam," he said. "There are seams everywhere. Most are stitched tight, but every so often something picks at them." Anna looked at him hard. "What picked at this one?" Miguel hesitated. "You did." Her breath caught. "Me." "You remembered." He looked at her. "We're not supposed to. That's how it works. The memory gets eaten too. But you held on to it. So the seam didn't seal." She thought about the photos. The static. The string. "What is it? Miguel? What's in the crack?" He didn't answer right away. Then, softly, "It doesn't have a name. Only hunger and rules." "What kind of rules?" "One every 30 years, he said. One child, that keeps it asleep. Forgotten." He turned toward her. "But it's broken now. You remembered. It knows." Her knees felt weak. She leaned against a desk. "So, what happens now?" Miguel stepped forward, yo-yo still in hand. It wants to reset the clock, but it's confused, angry, hungry in the wrong way. He swallowed. "It needs you." Anna's heart slammed against her ribs. "Me?" "You took my place," he said simply. "Not your fault, but it's how it works. One gone. One marked." "You said it only takes children." Miguel nodded. "That's the rule it had. But now it's changing the game. Rewriting." She looked down at the yo-yo string in his hand. "How are you still here?" "I made a deal," he said. "I offered myself up to hold the door open. Just long enough to warn the next one." Anna blinked hard. "You stayed trapped so I could find this." Miguel smiled. Tired. "It was you or my sister." Silence filled the room like water. She moved to him, reached out, but her hand passed through his. Cold, like mist. He looked up at her, eyes suddenly sharp. You can end it, but you have to go all the way in. What's in there? He didn't answer, just held out the yo-yo. She took it. It was warm. It pulsed once in her palm. The floor behind her cracked, splintered, opened a black spiral, like the center of a whirlpool, twisted in the earth beneath room 3B. Miguel stepped back. This is as far as I go. Anna stared down into the dark. She remembered the girl in the photo. The missing names. Her daughter's face, almost forgotten in the static of the monitor. She clutched the yo-yo and stepped into the dark. Falling wasn't what she expected. There was no rush of wind, no tumbling panic. It was like sinking into ink, slow, thick, disorienting. She couldn't tell if her eyes were open or closed. The light above her vanished fast, like it had been swallowed the moment she stepped off the edge. She clutched Miguel's yo-yo tight in one hand. It was the only warm thing left. Then her feet touched solid ground. She didn't land hard, more like she arrived. Anna blinked, and the world reassembled itself. She stood in a hallway, not part of the school, but a twisted echo of it. The tiles beneath her feet looked melted. The walls sloped slightly inward, as if the building had been grown instead of built. Light oozed from fixtures that weren't bulbs, just glowing slits in the ceiling, pulsing like veins. The yo-yo in her hand tugged once, like it had its own direction in mind. So she followed. The hallway forked, then forked again, like a maze rearranging itself in real time. She tried to memorize her path, but every step felt like it erased the one before it. At one point, she passed at a window. Outside was not a schoolyard. It was nothing. Black sky, no stars, no sound, just emptiness. A world erased from the map. She pressed her hand to the glass. It was warm. Something moved in the distance, large and slow, like a mountain shifting. She didn't wait to see what it was. The hallway led her to a door. Wooden. Old. Familiar. The placard read 3B again. She opened it. Inside was the classroom. Her classroom. But it was frozen in time, exactly as it had been the day Miguel disappeared. Her old jacket on the hook, her doodles on the bulletin board. The calendar still read March 1994. And sitting at the center desk was her, 8 years old. Hands folded neatly, eyes locked forward. Anna stepped forward, throat tight. The girl didn't blink, didn't breathe. Anna leaned in. The younger version of herself whispered, "It remembers you." The walls peeled open, not like doors, like skin, and behind them darkness. Not black, void. Anna felt her thoughts fray at the edges just looking at it, like her memories were being plucked loose, one strand at a time. And something was inside the void, moving. It didn't walk. It didn't crawl. It unfolded, like a shadow spilling across the floor, a shape with too many joints and no clear form. Eyes blinked in and out across its surface, dozen of them, all focused on her. She stepped back. The child version of her stayed still. The creature, the hunger spoke, not with words, with sensation. A voice that echoed directly into her spine. You kept her. Her legs nearly gave out. She tried to speak, but her mouth didn't work. Only the thought got out. Kept to. The offering, the equilibrium was broken. The thread has frayed. Images flooded her mind. Miguel falling through the crack. Rebecca's empty desk. June, asleep and unaware, almost claimed. Anna saw it all at once. This thing had been feeding on memory, on presence, taking children not just from life, but from history, cleaning up after itself, erasing. Miguel's sacrifice had delayed it. Her remembering had awakened it, and now it wanted to bargain. Choose. A figure stepped out of the void. Miguel. But not the boy she saw in the tunnel. Older, teenaged. His face was wrong, though eyes empty, mouth slack. A puppet? A warning. Then came another figure. Her daughter, June, standing still, wearing pajamas, holding her giraffe. Mommy. Anna stepped forward instinctively, but stopped when the thing rippled. Choose. One. The thread demands balance. Anna's mind reeled. It wanted her to pick Miguel or June. One to stay? One to go? Memory for memory. She stared at her daughter, at the boy who had sacrificed everything. Her hand tightened around the yo-yo, and something clicked inside her. This thing only played by rules when you obeyed them. Anna raised the yo-yo. It pulsed in her hand once, twice, then hummed like a live wire. She didn't know if it would work, but Miguel had said it was old, passed down, carved with intent. Maybe it was the last stitch holding this world together. She snapped it down the string. Clack. Whir. Snap. And with the last pull, she flung it not at the creature, but at the child version of herself. It hit the desk with a flash. A burst of light exploded outward, pure white, blinding. The void screamed. No sound, just pressure, like gravity twisting the world. The illusions shattered. Desanto. June vanished. Miguel's puppet collapsed. Anna found herself back on solid floor, breathing hard, alone. She stood slowly. The yo-yo lay at her feet, melted into a silver puddle. The creature was gone. The hallway, too. Only one door remained. She opened it and stepped through. Anna woke to rain. Cold drops on her face. The steady, soft rhythm of water hitting concrete. She was lying on the pavement outside the old Briar Hills Elementary building. The front steps, the metal doors were shut behind her, chained and padlocked, like no one had been inside for years. Her clothes were soaked, her palms scraped raw. Her left knee ached like hell. She sat up slowly. The yo-yo was gone. Her phone, too. The only thing in her pocket was a folded piece of paper, old, soft from age, like it had been folded and refolded for years. She opened it. A photo, the 1994 class picture, except now, she wasn't in it. 28 kids stood in front of the school building, smiling in the sun. Miguel was still there, still in the back row, slightly off center, but Anna's face was missing. Her entire body, a blank space where she should have been. Her name, 2 crossed out on the handwritten roster, scribbled on the back in blue pen. A cold wind blew through her. She drove home without thinking. Muscle memory on autopilot. Streets blurred past her in a haze. When she reached her neighborhood, everything looked the same, but off. Weeds grew longer. The air hung heavier. The house felt unfamiliar. She stepped inside, her breath catching. Everything was in place. The couch, the stroller in the hallway, her jacket on the hook. But there were no baby toys, no high chair, no crayon drawings taped to the fridge, and worst of all, no baby monitor on the counter. She ran up the stairs. The nursery door was gone. Just drywall now, smooth, seamless, like the room had never existed. She fell back against the wall, trembling. June, no answer. She whispered again, "Please." And from downstairs, a small sound, footsteps. She bolted down the hall. The living room was empty. Then she heard the creak of the back door. She flung it open. There, standing on the porch, soaking wet, was June, shivering, clutching her giraffe, eyes wide and dazed. Anna dropped to her knees and scooped her up, sobbing into her daughter's hair. "You're okay," she whispered over and over again. "You're okay." June didn't speak, didn't resist, just looked over her mother's shoulder toward something that Anna couldn't see. And then, in a small voice, "Where's the other mommy?" June slept for 2 straight days. Doctors said she was dehydrated, exhausted, but otherwise healthy. Anna told them she'd wandered off into the woods. They called it a miracle. But something inside her knew she hadn't wandered. She'd been held, almost taken, and somehow the rules had been rewritten. The next night, Anna logged onto Facebook with a burner account, searched Miguel Vargas. The profile was gone. So was Rebecca Lang's, and so was hers. Her old account, the one with college photos, vacation albums, baby updates, had vanished. Like she'd never been online. Like she'd never existed. But that wasn't the only thing missing. She checked her high school class photos. Her name wasn't on the list. Family albums, her face blurred out. Even June's birth certificate, her own name was faded, smudged, like water damage. She searched public records. Nothing. Bank account frozen. Phone plan canceled. She wasn't being hunted anymore. She'd been erased. In the place of sacrifice, something had been taken. Memory, presence, identity. She had broken the thread, defied the choice, and now the price had been collected in another way. Her phone buzzed. A new number. Blocked! She hesitated, then answered, silence. Then a voice, not quite Miguel's, but close. A little older, sharper, calm. You changed the rules, Anna froze. Miguel. A pause. I got out. Relief punched through her. You're alive? In a way. He said, this version of me is... The other one stayed behind. It's complicated. Anna laughed, shaky and raw. That's one way to describe all of this. He was quiet for a moment. You bought us time, he said. It's retreating. For now. What about June? She'll forget. Anna flinched. No, she said. No, I won't let her. She already is, Miguel said gently. She has to. That's the rule now. You remember, because you made the choice, but no one else will. Anna stared out the window at her backyard, at her daughter, sitting under the tree, drawing in the dirt, smiling. Say, you saved her, she said. Miguel was quiet again. I remembered something else, he said finally, from when I fell through. What? There were others, caught between kids, pieces of kids. Like the place didn't know what to do with them. I think they're still there. Anna gripped the phone tighter. Can we bring them back? Not yet, he said, but maybe someday. Then we try silence. Then I'll find you again when it's time. The line went dead. That night, Anna stood at the edge of her backyard, watching June sleep through the window. In her hand was a new yo-yo. Silver, bold. She didn't know where it came from, but she understood what it meant. The door wasn't closed, only waiting. 3 weeks passed. Briar Hills returned to normal, or what passed for normal, in a town that specialized in forgetting. The school remained closed for maintenance. A new sign hung outside, promising renovations, student safety upgrades, brighter futures. No one talked about room 3B. No one asked why the maintenance shed was suddenly welded shut, or why the school board suddenly voted to relocate all classes off-site permanently. No news reports, no public concern. Just quiet, cheerful statements about a fresh start. Anna watched from a distance, slipping through life like a ghost. Her job hadn't fired her, but she no longer showed up. Her name barely triggered records anymore. The only people who remembered her were the ones she saw every day, and even that seemed to fray. Her sister called her Ashley once. June called her Mama, but never said her name aloud. It was as if she were becoming a shadow in her own life, which she realized might be exactly what the thing wanted. Not to kill, not to haunt, but to erase, to replace real lives with clean silences. She kept a notebook now, taped photos inside, jotted memories, dates, times. She didn't trust her brain anymore, not with something that could reach inside and pluck memories like weeds. She wrote down every dream, every flicker of a déjà vu. Every time she passed someone on the street and felt a strange weight in their stare, like maybe they knew too. It happened more than she expected. Then, one afternoon, she stopped at the library. She wasn't sure why, only that something in her gut said, go now. The basement archives had always creeped her out Even as a kid, they smelled like mildew and ink and old breath. She pulled microfilm yearbooks, missing child reports, newspaper clippings from the 50s through the 90s. She wasn't looking for Miguel. She was looking for patterns. And she found them, one kid, every 30 years. But also, names scratched out, photo negatives missing figures, teachers who suddenly retired mid-year, their records sealed, entire families that moved out of town overnight. She found one article from 1962 about a girl named Grace Palmer who vanished on the last day of school. Her picture had been torn out of the file, except someone had written a note in the margin. Saw her yesterday at the market. Still ate. Didn't blink. Anna circled it 3 times. On her way out, she stopped at the library's Lost and Found for no reason at all. Sitting on the counter was a silver yo-yo. That night, she dreamt of the in-between. But it was different. Not the pulsing blackness, not the twisted version of the classroom. This was a hallway, cracked tiles, no windows. Children lined the walls. Silent. Still. They weren't crying. They weren't scared. They were waiting. One of them turned. Miguel, older now, maybe 15. He said nothing, just nodded once, and behind him, in the shadows, others stirred. Eyes opened, hands lifted. She woke up crying. Anna started noticing small things. Flyers on telephone poles with photos that blurred if you looked too long. A girl on the school bus who always sat alone, whose backpack looked 20 years old. A teacher at the grocery store who had a yo-yo on his belt but never seemed to use it. She understood what was happening. The in-between was leaking, cracks forming again, only not just at the school. One morning, she logged into the town's digital yearbook archive. She searched Miguel's class. The photo was back, everyone smiling, except now. There were 2 new faces in the back row. Not just Miguel, but a girl, blonde, big eyes, mouth slightly open. Her Anna, frozen mid-blink, just like Rebecca had been. Her fingers trembled on the mouse. The caption had no names, just a date, 1994. And below it, a line that hadn't been there before. Not all disappearances are visible. She checked June's backpack after school. Inside, tucked behind her math workbook, was a slip of paper, handwritten, a single sentence. They're starting to remember you. No name, no return address, but at the bottom, a tiny hand-drawn yo-yo. Anna didn't tell anyone. She packed emergency bags that night, just in case. Charged backup phones, scanned copies of her notes, her photos. But deep down, she knew there's no running from this. The moment you remember, it sees you. 2 days later, her phone rang at 3:08. Blocked number. She picked up. Miguel. But the voice wasn't his. Andy. It was a child. Younger. You're Anna. Right, the voice whispered. You see it too. Who is this? My name's Leo, the boy said. I go to North Point Elementary. Anna sat up straight. North Point was 15 miles away. Another town. Another school. Another seam. I think I found a door, he said. Static swallowed the call. The next morning, Anna drove to North Point Elementary.
No plan there. No permission.
She walked past the front office like she belonged there. Nobody stopped her. Nobody even looked up. It was just like Briar Hills in 1994, same layout. Same red brick walls, same endless hallways humming with fluorescent lights. She found the third grade classrooms at the back of the building.
Room 3B.
Of course. She stood outside it, hand hovering over the door handle. Then it opened from the inside. A boy stepped out, small, thin, nervous eyes behind wire-framed glasses. "Leo?" she asked. He nodded.
I saw it too. He said, under the sink in the janitor's closet, there's a panel. It's loose.
Anna crouched to meet his gaze. "Did you go in?" He shook his head. Something whispered. It said not yet. "Did you tell anyone?" He hesitated. "I drew it, but the drawing disappeared from my desk. Twice." Of course it did. This thing didn't just eat people, it erased the evidence of remembering. Anna took his hand. "We're going to fix this," she said. "You're not going to be another missing name." He looked at her, confused. "Like Miguel," she added softly. Leo blinked. "Who's Miguel?" That night, she returned to Briar Hills Elementary for the last time. The school was completely fenced off now. Cameras, warnings, but they didn't matter. She'd always known how to get in. She found the hallway that led to the old 3B.
The floor was torn up. Construction equipment lined the corridor as if someone had been trying to dig something out.
She stepped over loose tiles and broken plaster until she reached the center of the room. The seam was gone, not sealed, not repaired. Just gone. Like it had never existed. But she didn't need the crack to reach it anymore. She reached into her bag and pulled out the newest yo-yo. It looked like the one Miguel gave her, but she could feel the difference. This one was watching her. She let it drop. Click, whir, snap. The room pulsed once. Then reality folded, and she was back. This time, it didn't hide. It greeted her. No illusions, no fake classrooms, no phantom versions of her childhood. Just it. Vast, shifting.
The shape of hunger.
You defied the toll. I didn't choose wrong, she thought. I refused to choose at all.
Unbalanced threads snap.
Sacrifices leave stains. It surged toward her, but this time, she didn't flinch. She held the yo-yo like a charm, a blade, a ward. "You've lost your rules," she said. "I know what you are now." It hissed, not in anger, but in something close to fear. Remembering is contagious. Anna smiled. Exactly. The floor split, but not down.
Up.
Light poured from the ceiling of the void. Not blinding. Not warm. Real. Anna looked up and saw hands reaching down. Children flickering in and out of focus. Some new, some old, some long forgotten. Miguel was there. Rebecca. Even Grace Palmer. She reached out and they caught her.
Lifted her.
She rose. The entity screamed. But it didn't follow. It couldn't. She woke on the grass outside the school, just like before. But this time, the sun was rising. Her clothes were soaked again, but there was something different in her pocket. She reached in. A Polaroid.
This year's third grade class.
North Point Elementary. There was Leo standing at the edge of the front row.
And standing behind him,
Anna, smiling.
older,
Alive. Present. Her name was written on the back.
in ink.
No scratches. No crossed outlines. Just Anna McCall. Still here. 2 weeks later, a box arrived at her door. No return address. Inside, dozens of old yearbook photos. All grades. All decades. All from Briar Hills, North Point, and other schools she'd never heard of. Each with at least one unfamiliar face. A kid no one remembered. Until now, a note at the bottom, typed on a library index card.
Memory is resistance. Share them. No signature. Just a sketch of a yo-yo.
Anna started a website. No articles.
No blog posts.
Just one thing, the Yearbook Row Project. Dozens of scanned photos. Images with missing kids digitally restored.
No headlines. No accusations. No clickbait.
Just memories, dates, smiles, proof. The site was quiet at first. Then it wasn't.
Messages started pouring in.
I remember this girl. She was in my class. I thought she moved. We used to play Foursquare. How did I forget her name? My brother vanished in '78. You have a photo of him? How is this possible? People remembered, and the more they remembered, the more the world corrected itself. Anna didn't know if the creature was gone, but she knew it was weaker now. Because memory, once it sticks, spreads. At night, she still dreams of the hallway, still hears the faint sound of a yo-yo spinning in the dark. But she's not alone anymore. There are other voices,
Other hands.
other names coming back into the light. He's Cockford. The seams may never disappear completely, but now someone's guarding them. Final image. In an old archived yearbook in a dusty Midwestern school. A photo flickers under scanner light.
There are 30 students.
All accounted for. No empty space in the back row. But if you look close enough, you'll see a figure just behind the last column. Blurry. Smiling. Holding a yo-yo in one hand, eyes locked straight on the lens. Watching.
At its core, her classmate disappeared. After Recess in 1994 is a story about the power and danger of memory. It reminds us that forgetting may feel safe, but it often comes at a cost. The forces that prey on silence and erasure thrive when we look away. When we convince ourselves that some things are better left buried, but remembering, even when it's painful or frightening, is a form of resistance. It gives shape to the lost, voice to the erased, and strength to the living. The story challenges us to confront what we've chosen to forget, to speak what others would rather silence, and to hold on to truth when the world tries to rewrite it.
Thank you for joining us on this journey your time. Attention and curiosity mean everything. If this story gripped you, made you think, or gave you chills, We'd love for you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. We're building something special here, and your support helps keep these stories alive. And hey, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment with your thoughts, theories, or even suggestions for future content. What hit hardest? What do you want more of? Your feedback shapes what we create next.